Shalom people, this is Brother Lyles coming at you with another video, and I want to talk to you about denying yourself. Our lesson today will be about denying yourself. Let's go to book of Luke, the 9th chapter and verse 23. Luke 9 and 23 reads, "And he said to them all, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake." I know the word says cross, but actually it's stake. "Daily and follow me. For whosoever shall save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantage if he gain the whole world and lose himself or be cast away? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him will the Son of Man be ashamed when he shall come in his own glory and in his Father's and of the holy angels." So Yeshua is talking about deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow him daily. Now, the commitment factor in the Western Christianity has always been low, because in order for when the Christian Catholic conglomerate took over the scriptures and the teaching of them in 325 AD, they knew that they were going to continue to they was going to continue to be the Roman Empire. Not all of them, but a lot of them were going to continue to do the thing that Rome was good at: killing, stealing, and destroying. So that they would take on the facade of um, doing the work of the Lord, but at the same time they was going to continue to do the work of the fallen one, because we know that the world kingdoms are under the control of Satan himself. Now, that's not to say that they didn't want the lower level people, the serfs and those and the ones that were subject to the Catholic Church, to uh, not wanted them to live a prosperous life. They didn't. They wanted to hold the masses down. Still, there was no doubt about that. The average, those that were in the Catholic nations, and we know Catholic Christian nations were um, dumbed down a lot. When they took the words of the Torah in the New Testament and wrote it in Latin, where only the priest could understand it. The average person couldn't. We know that it was a dark period for people. But excuse me, excuse me. We know that Yah was saying that we got to deny ourselves, but um, what the Catholic and Protestant churches said, that if you do certain things, penances, certain religious rites, that would absolve you of the things that you're doing, so that you can continue to murder, steal, kill. But as long as you did your penance or whatever, you'll be okay. I can remember reading about the Crusades, where they said that they opened up all the prisons in Europe and told all the rapists, murderers, arsonists, whatever, if you go over to the quote unquote Holy Land and fight against the Islamists, that if you make it back, all your sins, you'll be absolved of any sin that you did before you left for the crusade, and any sin that you committed while you were there, you will be absolved in it. So one of the greatest recruiting tools there was. But Yeshua said here that if you would follow him, that you must deny yourself of your of what you want to do. You must deny yourself. So you got to lose your life. And what he meant by that, he didn't just meant losing your life as in being a martyr, but he meant lose who you are, that you want to be, that's going to be contrary to Yah. Because you hear these kind of sayings here in America all the time, that you only come this way once, that you gotta sow your wild oats and all this kind of stuff, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you know, and the good die young and all these other kind of sayings. Yeshua said no, you gotta deny that kind of life that you want to lead, that the world is telling you to lead, and pick up your state daily and follow after him. There's no doubt about it that you can't just live any kind of way that you want. He said that what is it advantage is it that if you gain all of these things, this stuff, this worldly stuff that you're looking for, and lose your only soul. Um, let's read real quick. It's Philippians 3:7. Philippians 3:7 says this, right? Um, but what things were gained to me, those I counted lost to Messiah, yea, doubtless. And I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Messiah, Yeshua, my master, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win Messiah, and be found in him, not having mine own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Messiah, the righteous, which is of Yah, my by faith, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection, and the fellowship of his sufferings, being made conformable unto his death, if by any means I might obtain unto the resurrection of the dead. Not as though I had already obtained, neither were already perfect, but I follow after, if that I may apprehend that for which also I am apprehended of Messiah Yeshua. Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, reaching forth unto those things which are before. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of Yahuwah in Messiah Yeshua. So Paul here was talking to the Philippians about uh, all the things that he had gained before he knew Christ, because Paul talked about he made a lot of money off of the Jews' religion, which was the Talmud. He talked about how he had the pedigree of being in the tribe of Benjamin. He was Pharisees. He had some of the top teachers in the world at that time, and he was probably, if he would have remained in there, he probably would have become head of the Pharisees himself. But he said, all this stuff I counted as done. So when we talk about losing this life, we're not just talking about people that's out there doing worldly stuff, but it's religious people out here that have big religious followings, and notable in the world for their religious quote unquote acumen or whatever it is. That's not losing your life. You living it up, you hamming it up, you know and Paul was that he said, but I count all that stuff as dung. Some of the most luminous people that outside of of course, the apostles, some of the luminous people that will be in the kingdom will be people that um, probably were marginalized, under the radar or whatever, that people didn't think twice about, but they were the prayer warriors. They were the ones that was doing the quote unquote mundane things, being faithful over the few, like he said, and I'll make you rule over many. Meaning, if this thing was that he put you in a situation where you was dealing with certain something that other people might have been able to overcome easily, but you was being faithful in doing that which he called you. You wasn't trying to take on a task that Yah hadn't called you. That that you was being faithful in whatever that would have called considered to be mundane. He said, "I'll make you ruler over many," and so he said, um, it's inherent in people to want to be known. It's inherent for us to want what we say to be taken seriously. What we're saying. That's anybody, you know. But you know, Yeshua, he was not even heard by his own family. They wasn't listening to him. Even Mary. Um, a lot of them didn't come to faith in Yeshua until after he rose. So, looking here at Philippians, where Paul said he was trying to apprehend that which Yeshua had as an example had showed us, that he gave up his position in glory and came down and lived a life in sinful flesh. That how many of us, that if we had the comfort zone of that real cushion life, um, like living like royalty every day, that we would give it up. Now, I don't just I understand what I'm saying, because right now as I'm making this video, we know that Meghan Markle and Harry supposedly stopped wanting to be royal, but what we have come to find out is the reason that they wanted to stop becoming royals is not because you know they wanted to step down and be ordinary people. Actually, what was being said was they wasn't making enough as much money as they could be making if they wasn't royals, meaning the potential for them to make millions and millions and millions and more dollars was is there. If they don't fulfill their royal obligation, they can make more money. So before people start patting them on the back, say, "Oh, because Harry, the chances of him becoming king, if William and his son live a long time, was pretty much impossible anyway, right?" So it's like, okay, now let's get out here and make that money. So let's not use that as an example to say, well, here's an example. That's not a good example. We're talking about a person that maybe came from being a pauper to become a prince, and then tell that person you got to become a pauper again, right? So this is the situation that we are seeing here with what Paul had it all. He was heading up to the upper echelons of religion, but he said, "I counted it all dung. I gave it up, and I start trying to apprehend all the things that Yeshua went through, so that um, I could tap into that power that he gave by denying himself and coming down and being exalted and given a position higher than that of all creation." He said, "I'm apprehending that." And he said, "I'm pressing," verse 14, "I'm pressing for the mark of the high prize of the calling of Yah in Messiah Yeshua." He's saying, because he said, if we are to conform to the image of Yeshua, we got to press for it. It's not going to be easy. And one of the ways that we press or we pursue the image of Yeshua is we gotta deny ourselves. We gotta deny ourselves some of these things that we, as believers in Yeshua and his people, we say we're his people. We gotta give some of these things up. We can't follow the Western mindset, right? Where they absolve themselves. They absolve themselves of all things that they do, and um, just taking the blood of Yeshua and just like just smother everything that we do in the blood, no matter how bad it is, and then let's just keep going. No, it doesn't. Where he said, if we knowingly sin, we make him a liar, and we have trampled on the foot the blood of Yeshua. When we know stuff that we shouldn't be doing, in according to the scriptures, that we, and this is why it is so dangerous for us who are believers, and also know that we are the people that that especially now we see what Yah did to us, our ancestors and us, for uh with the knowledge of who they were, what he did. He hid that from us. He let us come into knowledge of who Yeshua was, and how much more now that we have that, and the knowledge that we are the people that, if we sin now, that Yah is not gonna, he's not gonna be holding out that, that grace to let you continue on in the stuff that you're doing, because you have a higher understanding now. You understand, you see what he did, and anything that you would do now, you would just be testing. You would just be saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna see how far I can go." Right? Yeah, is not. Well, he ain't never been playing, but he's definitely not going to do that now that he is waking us up for a purpose. We'll be held to a higher standard, right? So let's go to Hebrews. Let's see what Hebrews 11 and 24 says about denying ourselves. We're going to talk about Moses here. Um, Actually, we're gonna start with 11:24. It said, by faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of Yah than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of uh, Messiah greater riches than the treasures of in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible through. Okay. Um yeah, we're gonna skip on down to verse 36. He said, and others had trial of mock, cruel markings and scourgings, yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawed asunder, they were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, and tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise. Yah having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. So it's saying here that, we know that Moses was raised in Pharaoh's house. He could have been a pharaoh. All of you seen I can't remember that Disney movie, the King of Egypt or whatever. Could have been, but he didn't want it. Once he found out that he was a Hebrew and he seen what his people was going through, he said, "Nah, I'm not gonna have. I'm gonna deny myself that, and I'm gonna become one of my brethren." And he went out to try to free them the wrong way. Of course, he killed the Egyptian taskmaster. That wasn't the way that Yah wanted it to be, but still the fact that he was willing to do that, give up the powerful kingdom of uh, Egypt. He said, nah. He said he said here. Let's go back. He said, verse 26. He said he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. He said, esteeming the reproach of Messiah greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, because Moses knew about Yeshua's coming, and he knew that in the coming kingdom that he had a reward waiting for him, but he had to suffer reproach, as he knew Yeshua was gonna have to suffer reproach. So he said he counted what he was gonna get later of greater reward than what he would have got if he would have said, "Well, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna be Pharaoh, and I'm gonna try to do uh, the right thing while I'm in power here over the Egyptians." He knew that wasn't going to happen. He knew that that wasn't the answer. He gave it up, and this is what we sometimes have to do. I met years ago when I used to work for this company, telecommunications plant making fiber optic cable. We had a black guy. He was an engineer, and we was talking one night because I was working third shift, and he was just talking about. I asked him what are some of the jobs and some of the job offers that he had before he came work there, and he was talking about how he was going to school somewhere up in Virginia. I want to say it's Virginia, somewhere up there. But anyway, he said he had an internship that he could have did at Philip Morris, and then after the internship, he could have got on there and he would have been making all kinds of money. But he said, you know what, I had a relative, I don't remember, it was his grandmother or somebody that had died from cigarettes. And he said, there's no way I would work for them. I don't care how much money that they got. I understand what I would have been doing to help further a product that killed my relative. And so you can think the same thing in this life, that if we and I don't think this guy was even claiming to be a believer, and not that he might have not been. He never showed me. I don't know, he could have been, but I'm just saying he wasn't overly religious or whatever, in the sense of just going out there and throwing his hands up saying hallelujah and a cross. But he was esteeming the riches of this world of none effect when it came to his morals and what he was going to represent. And he said, I couldn't let myself be represented in this company that was killing people. And I thought that was very profound to me and woke me up, in the sense of, I had been in uh, the military for a while and everything. And then as I came to understand some of the things that our military was representing, when my 20 was up, I got on out. I couldn't do it anymore, right? Because you can only uh, hide behind that thing of I'm gonna be willingly ignorant but so long, and y'all will wake you up and say, do you understand what you are representing? Yeah, in your mind you're saying, yeah, I did what I did what I felt was right, but ultimately, the day is gonna come that you might be forced to do something because you want to play that role. You might be forced to do something that is ultimately expected of you, because you got to take the good with the bad. You think about some of the soldiers that came home from Vietnam and burnt their uniforms and all this other kind of stuff because of some of the things that they had done when they was over there. But not just that war, but many other wars. So that it's showing that we as believers, we would have to be, we should be more discerning about things that we join ourselves to, organizations that we join ourselves to. People that join different clubs, different fraternities or whatever. And we know Yah's for what he says about secrets, and we know what he says about oaths, and we know what Ezekiel said about some of the things that Yah said were detestable to him. That we said, but we want to experience life, we want to enjoy life, but understanding what he said about denying yourself, that you was have to say, you know what, those things might have been fine and good for other people in my family before me or after me, but I understand what Yah's word says about certain things. I must what? Deny myself those things. One of the things that was, when I was in the Christian church, that was put out there to us was, you know, a quote unquote good Christian joins all these different groups, joins the Rotarians, and joins the Lion Club, and join the whatever, and not thinking by you joining yourself to these things, are you joining yourself to some evil that they gonna be affiliated with later on. You see, um, Revelation 2. Let's go to Revelation 2, and let's see. 2:12. Yeah, Revelations 2 and 12 says this. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos write, these things said he which has the sharp sword with two edges. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you where Satan dwelleth. Now, this was the test. Yah had people in Pergamos that was his in a place called the seat of Satan, and in the seat of Satan they was able to not deny their faith. And this is why it's not for us to go out into some compound away from where the evil. I don't understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying saying he wants us to go live by a strip club or something like that, and go into the strip club and witness to the women as they come out. I'm not, use your understanding of what I'm trying to say. I'm talking about just living in a place where people are. He don't want us to go out into these, live out in these compounds and all this other kind of stuff, right? He don't want us to do that. We need to be salt and light amongst darkness. He said, but here in where the seat of Satan is, my people are not denying me. And by them being there and not denying themselves, they'll have a greater reward, because they was able to resist who? Satan, and he would flee from them. And so when we say that we are denying ourselves, we got to be able to deny ourselves from something. We got to be able to deny ourselves from the things that Satan gives us. And a lot of times, unfortunately, in denying ourselves, sometimes that can mean, like our ancestors, some of them denied things that the people was trying to get them to do, and they lost their life over it. There's many times that slaves would fight back and not allow themselves to be taken advantage of. They would not allow their wife to be raped, would not allow their children to be taken, would not allow themselves to be abused, and they fought back. And because they denied these people that they had to lose, a lot of them lost their life. We look at the people in the civil rights movement, they denied themselves the buses of Montgomery. They said, we'll walk or we'll take a car. And what happened? It caused them to change their mind. But they had to be able to deny. This is the problem with our generation today. We don't deny ourselves a lot of the worldly pleasures because we are living in Satan's seat here. But we are not like the people of Pergamos. We aren't denying ourselves. We are not. We are not. We are denying. We are denying the faith. We are denying His name. And I understand that His name is not Jesus, but understand we just coming into this understanding. But those who have been born again, that were born again before they knew who they were, they understand what you understand what I mean about denying His name, denying the things that belong to His name, the character of what Yeshua or Jesus meant. That He said some of you are denying those things and say, ah, nah, Yah is Yahuwah is love. He ain't gonna do none of that stuff. You can go out and live whatever kind of lifestyle you want. You be all right. He said no. When you called into question, you stand straight up with your back straight and you say what you mean and you mean what you say. You don't try to be politically correct. Let's go to Daniel, because Daniel and the three Hebrew boys were good examples to us of what um, it meant to deny yourself and really go in for. Yeah, let's go to Daniel 1:8, and I like this. This is Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or Hananiah, uh, uh, Mishael, and Azariah. But Daniel 1:8 said, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. So Daniel was like, I don't want to defile myself with this meat and wine that has been offered to the gods of Nebuchadnezzar. And thereby, because understand what we had said before, that a lot of times when you see anything dealing with food, a lot of times it dealt with doctrine, it dealt with teaching, things like that. Now, in this case, it was actual food, but if they had been partaking of that food, which was probably offered to Marduk, which is a chief deity among the Babylonians, that they would have been agreeing to their gods when they did it. Cause see, it was almost like a rite. He was trying to change who they are into a completely Hebrew Babylonian court, meaning they were from uh, the captivity, but he was gonna by osmosis, by them partaking of the meat and drink of his gods, they would have transformed themselves instantly into his Babylonian court. But Daniel wanted them to have a distinction amongst themselves. So look what he did. He purposed in his heart, him and the other three teenagers, that they were not going to defile themselves with this meat and wine that had been offered to Nebuchadnezzar's gods. And he said, now, verse 9, Yah had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs, meaning he had got favor. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my master the king, who has appointed your meat and your drink. For why should ye see my face is worse liking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. Because Nebuchadnezzar was very erratic and had a high temper when it came to just doing crazy stuff, killing a lot of people. After conquering so many nations, he probably felt invincible, that he could do whatever. And verse 10, he said, the prince of the eunuchs, verse 11, then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, which were later named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These were their real names right here in Hebrew. He said, "Prove thy servants." This is Daniel verse 12. "I beseech thee 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenance be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat, and as thou seest, deal with thy servants." And so he consented to them in this manner and proved them 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all of the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Okay, then Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them pulse. As for these four children, Yah gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now, at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king, and in all manners of wisdom and understanding that the king acquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in his realm. And Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus. And so because they was willing to deny themselves, Yah exalted them in due season and gave them abilities and wisdom and visions and all these other things. Now understand that the whole time they was in Babylon, they didn't just eat hulks and drink water. It was just for that appointed time of 10 days where the king had them drinking and eating his meat and wine that had been offered to his gods. But understand that they that was a test, and because they was able to test, of course they would later on be able to eat their own probably meat that they had prepared and their own drink that they had prepared. But if you read throughout Daniel, you can see that fasting does did look like it was a thing that um, they that Daniel and probably the other three did on a regular basis to supplement that they wasn't in their land, and also that they would not be overcome by the the spiritual warfare that they would be battling against. Because you can remember when Daniel was fasting the 21 days, when he was trying to get a vision, he said he ate no pleasant meat or wine, meaning that there was times that he ate meat and wine, but it was at certain periods that he would deny himself. So he got it because fasting is denying yourself, which somewhere here soon I'm gonna do a 3 day fast. I'm not gonna say when, but I'm gonna engage in that. Now I do fast on a regular basis. I'm not gonna tell you my pattern, because you need to develop your own pattern. But I do it as needed. I try not to get into the quote unquote habit where I got a set day or whatever, because then what it can become mundane. I want to fast when I see a need, because one of the things that when I was reading the book of Zechariah, and I think I talked about it last week, is that when the Hebrews, when the Yahudim were in Babylon, that they developed these days of fasting where they would fast on, I think, on the day on the one on the date that the temple was destroyed or something like that. And they had made it into like a um what can I say? They had made it into almost like one of the feasts that just, and understand that before Yeshua came, that the feasts were to commemorate his coming. But they had made these fasts that they were doing on par. They made a lot of stuff that what they was doing in Babylon. They brought them out of Babylon with them, and they put them on par with the with the word what the word of Yah was saying. And in Zechariah, in the book of Zechariah, you can see where Yah told him only, they asked Yah, was they supposed to still be doing a fast or whatever, and Yah basically told Zechariah to tell them, at what time did I ever tell you to do the fast? He said, and one of the things that I was not understanding is that in the economy of Yah, there are more feasts than there are fasts. So Yah understands that sometimes we become over religious like the Pharisees when it comes to doing certain things, and that's why he said in the book of Isaiah, you denying yourself in the fasting, but you're fasting in the intent of your heart is not right, because you fast for contention and strife and everything. So when we deny ourselves, it's got to be a denial that we are really seeking Yah, because we need to get answers, and that we know that we need to pull back, not as a religious right and say, aha, Yah, see, I'm fasting three times a week or whatever it is, as we as it is needed. That's why Yeshua says some of these only come by prayer, fasting. Meaning some of them you don't have to go into no fast and pray against some of these spirits, but some of them you're gonna know that you're gonna have to. So that is a need or a sickness or something that we said. But that Yeshua, they said they got mad at him because they said he didn't come like John with fasting and all this other kind of stuff that John was doing. He said I come eating and drinking. You call me a wine bibber and a drunkard, right? He said I'm here. I'm not. I understand he wasn't raveling or anything. He was just enjoying a common meal, right? He was like going about it every day, mate, eating his meal, casting out some devils or whatever. He wasn't doing some all religious expressions or whatever. He would just go cast the demons out. He would go raise the dead or whatever, and he would go about his business like an everyday person. He wasn't trying to puff himself up with some grandiose. Well, before I did this, I went on a pilgrimage to the mountain and I heard from you. No, he said, "Hey, I came. You know, I cast out the spirits, and then I went down and sat and had a meal." You know what I'm saying? And so that's why we gotta be careful of that. But you should be led by the Spirit in the time that we're living in, and understand that we are coming against some of those spirits that we do have to deny ourselves and fast against them as a necessity. And that from time to time, it is good if collectively people set a date that they say, hey, can we all get together, and this is a need that's going to benefit all of us if we can overcome this, and that's fast and pray. But understand, and this is just me, some people say you do need it to get into practice. I don't believe that, because I just seen the fallacy of it when I was with the Church of God in Christ with their Tuesday and Thursday set fast that, it was whatever. But that's another story. But let's get back to the scriptures real quick, because we don't want to be too long in this. Let's go to um, Mark 9:43. Mark 9:43. Mark 9:43 said, "And if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter into life maimed, having two hands, than having two hands to go into hell, into the fire that shall never be quenched." Right? Where the worm dieth not and the fire is not quenched. And if thy foot offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter into life, halt into life, than having 2 feet to be cast into hell, unto the fire that shall never be quenched, where that their worm dieth not and the fire is not quenched. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out. It is better for thee to enter into the kingdom of Yah with one eye, than having two eyes to be cast into hellfire, where the worm dieth not and the fire is not quenched. For everyone shall be salted with fire. and every sacrifice shall be salted with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt hath lost his savor, wherewith will ye season it? Have salt in yourselves and have peace one with another. So here Yeshua is saying, you know what? If you can go out here and commit all the sins and stuff with both hands, both, you know, feet, both eyes, and so what he's saying, your eyes, which is wonder to your soul, that you let your eyes do whatever it is that your eyes is gonna do, whatever your evil your hands gonna do, whatever evil your feet gonna move you into. He said, okay, but if you want to deny yourself, um in a sense, it's better for you to cut off that hand, cut off that one foot, pluck out that one eye that would hinder your ability to do wickedness. He said it's better for you to die with that one, uh with one foot, one hand, one eye, which just basically mean those things, those are parts of the body that mostly help us to commit sin, with our hands, our feet, our eyes, right? He says it's better for you to die in that state, because when you die in Yeshua, you're gonna have eternal life. You're gonna get a glorified body. Then for you to keep both hands, both feet, and both eyes, and continue on and doing sin in this life, and then die with those two hands, those 2 feet, and those 2 eyes, and be burnt up in hell. And so again, denying yourself for the greater good that's gonna come along, right? Just like Paul said, I'm I'm pressing for the mark, because I know I got prize. I got crown. I got a literal crown. I'm not gonna be one of the 12 apostles that have a foundation, right? But I'm gonna be one of I'm gonna have a big stake in the kingdom. I got a big prize that Yah has for me. And now that we know that we are the people, that Yah coming back for his people and those that's grafted into us, and that Israel is going, this is gonna be our time. How much more so now that we pursue Yeshua, understanding that he came first for us, that we acknowledge and ask him to forgive us for our forefathers denying him, and also for letting us survive and be those ones that he took the blinders off of our eyes, so that we know who we are, and now and be able to engage him, not just as believers, but believers that know that we are of those 12 tribes that he came for, and that he has a glorious future ready for us, right? So uh, uh, let's go to Matthew 19 and 23. 19 and 23. And it says, then said Yeshua unto the disciples, verily, verily, I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Yah. Then when his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, who then can be saved? But Yeshua beheld them and said unto them, with man this is impossible, but with Yah all things are possible. Then answered Peter and said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? And Yeshua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his Kimball, his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone that has forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive an hundredfold, and shall inherit eternal life. but many that are first shall be last, and many that last shall be first. So he's saying, yeah, it's hard for a rich man to get in because he don't want to give up his riches and come follow me, like the rich young ruler. Not that every time a person that has money finds sure that that's what he wants him to do, but like I said, if you know that, especially that your riches that you got were through evil, I think for myself, I would have to believe that y'all, it would be the right thing to do if you made your money through prostitution, that you need to get that money away. You understand? I would think that if you were a drug dealer, that would be right for you to get that money away. You understand what I'm saying? If you was a mercenary or you was going out, gun for hire for another nation or whatever, then I think it would be right for you to give that money away. Because that money is it was made on the blood of other people, and I don't think that money can be a blessed, especially when you know the source of it. And but the disciples was like, man, who can be saved? Not so much because they was rich, like these prosperity preachers try to tell you, but primarily so that they wanted to probably be rich. You wouldn't have had Matthew among them. That was a tax collector. That was a known way at that time to make money. Back then was to be a tax collector for Rome, but you would be hated of your people. And so, um, he said he said it's easy for the camel to go through there, and it was like, well, man, what's our chance? He said it's still it's not impossible for a rich man, but because Yah can do all things possible. But they saying, okay, so what Peter is saying, okay, we left all to follow you. Now what we gonna get? And he said, you gonna get a you're gonna get a good prize, Peter. When I come back in the regeneration, the 12 thrones that ruling over the nation of Israel, y'all gonna sit on them, right? And he said, and if you that have forsaken, all the houses, the brethren, the sisters, the family members, the wife, the children, everything, you're gonna receive 100-fold, and you shall inherit eternal life, right? He said, don't worry about that. If you out and you living for Yah and you doing what you're supposed to, you might lose some of these things. You might lose a spouse. You might lose your children because they might think religious nut job, right? Especially when it comes to us, try know that we need, to follow, Yah's law, statutes, and commandments as much as we can in the land of our captivity. A lot of people say this is an inconvenience because I'm living in the seat of Satan, and Satan thing is making it hard. But for us that deny ourselves and not doing it and we're doing it because we love to do it, not because we feel that we're gonna get extra points or whatever for it, even though Yah said there is a blessing to be being obedient. We believe that this is gonna make uh, life of us living this life of righteousness by denying ourselves some of these things that most people say is okay. That Yah said, not only I'm gonna help you in this life by making things, helping you get those things that you might lose, but in that life after, you're gonna get eternal life. And when you look at it, being that peculiar people, how peculiar is it to be a Christian in this land? It's not really, because everybody is a Christian. It was just I studied religion and philosophy at Shaw University, and one of the philosophers we studied was this, and actually they said they don't know if he really can be, I guess, considered to be a, existential philosopher, Søren Kierkegaard. He was a Dutch believer in the, I want to say, 1800s, and that Denmark was deep into the slave trade. I didn't realize that a lot of A lot of theirs was down in the Caribbeans, and a lot of the slave castles on the coast of um um Africa, right? But anyway, I don't know if that was the main gist of why Character God was so he almost detested the church of Denmark, because it seemed like every European country had their own church that was like a state church, and that when you were born, you were and once you had been Christian, you was automatically made a Christian citizen of that nation. But Kierkegaard could see that these people were Christian, and which we know the word Christian is not such thing, but that's just used the word for what we using it for. But he understood that these people that called themselves Christians were devilish, and he didn't want to have no parts of it. And he wrote this statement, and I want to say it the right way. He said, "Oh, to be a..." Let me find it. I want to say it right because it was so profound what he said, and it reminds me of um, America and all these other nations that were supposed to be Christian nations, right? Hold on. And I'm googling it right now. Give me a minute. Okay, okay, okay. Uh, um, I might be able to find it. Uh, okay, okay. Yeah, here is said this is a quote. Um where last place okay, this is a long quote, but I'm gonna read it anyway. This is not the one I wanted, but I'll read it. He said, "This is Sir Søren Kierkegaard. The matter is quite simple. The Bible is very easy to understand, but we Christians are a bunch of scheming swindlers. We tend to be unable to understand it because we know very well that the minute we understand, we are obliged to act accordingly. Take any words in the New Testament and forget everything except pledging yourself to act accordingly. My God, he will say, if I do that, my whole life will be ruined. How would I ever get on in the world? Herein lies the real place of Christian scholarship. Christian scholarship is the church's uh, uh, per, per, prodigious invention to defend itself against the Bible, to ensure that we can continue to be good Christians without the Bible coming too close. Oh, priceless scholarship! What would we do without you? Dreadful it is to fall into the hands of the living God. Yes, it is even dreadful to be alone with the New Testament. So this is one of the quotes, and I read, there was a lot of stuff that this man said, but it was one that I can't um get, I can't think right now. Hold on, here's 15 of Sir Ron Kierkegaard's most challenging quotes. Let me see. Um, see on observing scripture. Okay. Okay, on dying, not on being. Okay, on salvation. Okay, hold on. Okay. This is not what I want. I had this written in my some of my notes when I was in school, and it was a quick quote that he was saying, "Oh, to try oh, in order to become a Christian in a Christian nation," he basically was like, you got to get unsaved in the Christian nation in order to become saved. Because if you basically think that you're saved because you're part of that nation, you have not been changed. So you got to fall away from that mode of deny yourself of that mode of Christianity, which lets you do whatever you want to in order to get to the real. And basically, a lot of us that are listening to me that came out of the Christian church first before they got to know about this Hebrew thing. You understand what I'm saying? That you had to become lost in order to get saved, because so much stuff that you had been taught was not right. You had to almost go back to ground zero. Not that you was gonna be born again, but your understanding, you had to lay all a lot of that stuff that you had been taught aside. And if I come up with a quote that Kierkegaard that I found, I'll bring it up in another lesson. But it's important for us to deny ourselves a lot of the stuff that the West offers us, like the holidays, the certain foods that we eat that we shouldn't be eating, that Yah told us prohibitions against them, certain things that we engage in, certain people that we connect with that we shouldn't. Now, understanding that we don't go into no compound, but that we remember what he said about making friendships with the world. So, denial for now, for the greater glory later. And that is the hardest thing. That's why if we come out of this, I believe that y'all gonna have great rewards for us. Because to deny yourself here in the seat of Satan, just like he said to those at Pergamos, he said, I know what you have done. And if we can get Yeshua to say, I know that about your denial, we're doing good. But if not, he said, all right, I know them people, they ain't giving up. It's just like people say, I'm not a morning person. I'm not gonna get up to pray. I'm not a night person. I gotta hit the set. Remember the daily oblation. I mean, not oblation, oblation, the daily oblation, morning oblation, night oblation. We are, notice what he said. He said the sacrifice. He said every sacrifice shall be salted with salt, right? He said, and so we got to remember that we are a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto Yah, which is our reasonable service. And that's our lesson today, talking about deny yourself. If you like this video, like it, share it, and subscribe, and pray for us. That y'all will uh, uh, continue to let us see victory in His name of His Son Yeshua HaMashiach. Be blessed.